I thought I was going to be a doctor. I loved being a paramedic. I had never even thought about owning a business. I didn't know anybody in my life that owned a business. I grew up in a military family. I spent the last 12 years running a 7-figure agency doing Facebook ads for online businesses. On the inside, I'm quietly unraveling. My marriage is falling apart. I'm miserable. I was depressed. There were days where I'd have to contact my team and just say, cancel everything on my calendar today. I can't get out of bed. I think it's really hard for strong people to show their vulnerability and talk about what they're struggling with. If I have to put myself out there and somebody's going to judge me and be like, oh, I can't believe she said that, or I can't believe she's going through that, or she's weak, or she's this and that. I am willing to do that now because I care so deeply because of what I went through. The difference between a woman who is highly successful and who is not is a woman who truly knows who she is.
I'm going to take it away from here. So we have Adrienne, and I want you to share a little. So I'm going to say a little story spiel. We went to this, is it like a business meeting?
Like a networking, business lunch.
And you really stood out. Like, I loved how bright and how vibrant you were. And I was like, Tim, if we have anybody on the podcast, we have to have you. But I would love for you to share your story. Like, tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll dive deep.
Oh, gosh. How far back do you want me to go?
So you're a Nashville forever person, or?
No. So, I moved to Nashville almost 7 years ago.
Okay,
now.
from where?
I moved here from southern New Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia.
Oh, cool.
And but I'm a military brat, and I also was in the military. So I've lived in 9 different states all over the country. And but this is definitely my most favorite place I've ever lived.
Okay. That's
Speaking
awesome.
of winning, you've been everywhere.
That's awesome. Okay, tell us a little bit more. You're a mom.
Yes. So I have a 17-year-old daughter who's wrapping up her junior year. So she'll be a senior next year.
Oh, snaps.
She's already...
We have a son, same
in
age.
a couple days. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And she's already committed to play lacrosse in college. So that is very exciting. And I have my son will be 19 next month.
Oh, wow.
So I have a 17-year-old and a 19-year-old.
So you're going to be an empty nester in no time.
I am going to be an empty nester by next summer.
Oh, yeah. How do you feel about that?
We're starting to feel that.
Yeah. I have 2 feelings. I have this feeling of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to miss them so much. And then I'm excited for them excited for them to start their adult life. And then my kids always ask me like, what are you going to do when I'm gone? And I'm like, whatever I want to do.
I love it.
Right.
That's my answer every time. Whatever I want to do.
So you don't feel sad?
I do feel sad. Like it's a bittersweet feeling, like because you're just excited for them, their future, and like what's ahead for them. But there is a sadness, and I'm sure like once they're actually gone, I'm sure there will be a period of grieving and mourning. But so there are moments when I get tearful, but then I also am really excited for them.
So tell us about a little bit about your success story. I think it would be important to hear that.
Yes, I'll give you the very condensed version. So I mentioned that I served in the military. I was a paramedic in the Air Force. I went in when I was 17 years old and served 7 years active duty. And then I got a degree in public relations and went into marketing. Oh, cool. And I thought I was going to be a doctor. I loved being a paramedic, but I could not pass physics or calculus in college. So I had to change my major to something that didn't require that.
You had to do physics for a medical degree.
Yeah. So I switched to public relations and I started working in marketing. So over 20 years ago at a PR agency in Philadelphia. And then when I had my first child, I got laid off while I was pregnant with him. And I had never even thought about owning a business. I didn't know anybody in my life that owned a business. I grew up in a military family, so I never even knew about business owners. And I was attending a class that you're required to attend when you're collecting unemployment because I had, been laid off from my job. And they said, hey, if you have an idea to start a business, let us know. And the state of New Jersey will pay to put you through a 6-week class that teaches you about starting a business.
That's cool.
And it's just about more like law and finance and stuff like that. They don't actually teach you how to run a business.
Right.
And so that just got my wheels spinning. And I was showering one day. All of my ideas come to me in the shower. And I was like, I was going to be a first-time mom. And I was like, I'm going to start like a mom's group. And then I was like, no, I'm going to start a newsletter. And I was like, I'm going to start a magazine. So my first business, I launched a print magazine called South Jersey Mom when my son was 9 months old. It's still in print today, 19 years later.
Oh, no way.
But I sold it many, many years ago. And so that was my first business. And I started with, no money, no idea how to start a magazine. But after 4 years, I had grown it to 30,000 copies a month that we were printing in 7 counties in South Jersey. Full color print, like glossy magazine. And so that was my first business. And so I sold that after 4 years. And I had another child during that time. And so running a business and having 2 littles and all that stuff was really hard. So I sold that business and I homeschooled my kids for 2 years.
Wow.
And then I was like, this is not for me. And so I put my kids back in school and I started a PR agency because I had a degree in PR. And I was like, let me start my own PR firm. And that was about 13 years ago. And within 6 months, I discovered Facebook ads. They were new out there. They were a brand new marketing tool.
It was a good time.
A lot of good opportunity, yes.
And so when you took my marketing background and skill and combined it with this new tool, I was getting incredible results. And so within 6 months, I was like, I'm no longer doing PR. I'm just going to do Facebook ads. And that I spent the last 12 years running a 7-figure agency doing Facebook ads for online businesses and marketing coaching and things like that. And that's what I spent 12 years doing.
That's incredible. So you take on clients and do ads for them?
Yes. So I had 3 different ways I worked with people in the agency. One is companies would come to me and hire me to run the ads for them. Okay. And we would do everything from the creatives to managing the ads, all this, scaling, all the things. But sometimes I also had people who couldn't afford to hire me to do their ads. They weren't a big enough business. Yeah. And so I had a membership program where I taught small business owners how to do the ads themselves. They couldn't afford to hire me to do it for them. And so I had a membership. And then I also would do one-on-one coaching. Sometimes people would be like, can you just jump on Zoom with me and look at my ads and tell me what to do? And so that was the 3 different ways we generated revenue. And I would sell like digital courses and stuff like that as well.
That's cool.
And so that's what I spent 12 years doing until November when I closed that business.
That's impressive.
How many people were on your team?
I think at our height, we had 7 or 8 on the team.
That's amazing.
I'd say 4 or 5 of them were like full-time W-2 employees, and then the others were like part-time contractors.
Similar to us now.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
similar team.
Yeah.
I was going to start asking you managing team questions, but that's not what it's about. We'll have you
That's
back.
another show.
We'll have you back. Tim can ask you all the success questions.
That's impressive.
Closing down that business, and it was a very successful business. Yeah. And now you're starting a completely new journey.
Yes.
Tim, take it away.
That's a big commitment. It's just you let everything go because you felt more needed in like this new stage of your life, helping other people that are, that are going through we call it messy middle. Or actually, you called it messy middle on one of your posts. Yeah. So question for you. Many moms put themselves last in relationships because of kids, homework, sports, husband, right? Especially if he's the breadwinner, he got to go around, maybe make lunch, and you tend to forget about yourself in the process. How important is it for a woman to work on her own growth?
Yeah, I think it's really common. I won't speak for all the other women. I'll talk about my own experience, but I think that it's very common, and a lot of women aren't talking about what happens is each different event that happens in our life. First you get married and then you have kids or you start a career or whatever. We adapt and adjust to that situation. And I think that a lot of women, not all women, but a lot of women, as those events happen in their life, they slowly start to give up themselves. They slowly start to lose their identity of like, who am I? What's important to me? What do I enjoy? What is my voice? And an effort to figure out how to parent their kids. Like I have to be a different parent to my son than to my daughter. They have different personalities. Absolutely. I can't parent them both the same way. Like I have to how am I showing up in my marriage? How am I showing up with my friends? And so I think as those things happen in life, for a lot of women, they tend to lose themselves. Because they're just trying to be everything for everybody else. Yeah. And they kind of forget, either they don't necessarily forget about themselves, but they do feel like there are so many other things that I need to take care of. And they're the last ones that they pay attention to. And then even at that time, I know a lot of women will tell me like, well, I just feel selfish if I spend time. I feel bad if I go take a spa day. I feel bad if I have a hobby
makeup.
and I play tennis.
Put
or
on
this and
makeup.
that.
How many moms do you see wearing makeup? They don't even have time for makeup.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah. And it's so, motherhood especially is such a sacrificial act.
So
that is
selfless.
both an honor but it is also a huge sacrifice. And I think that most women at some point in time during their years of motherhood tend to lose themselves. And if they don't have a healthy marriage or some other healthy person that they're close to in their life that can kind of remind them of who they are and bring that back and nurture them and encourage them, I think that the farther they go along, they just continue to lose themselves more and more and more. And then they get to their 40s and they go, who the heck am I? I don't even recognize this person anymore.
It's such a good point, somebody to remind you.
Yeah.
So I always struggled with weight. Like my family, like everybody's like kind of thick. And Tim would be like, and it's not.
That's why
this is gonna be
that's
controversial.
why I fell in love with you. I'm like, I like this not very
but
skinny
then when
girl.
I get too thick, a lot of women will be like, I can't believe he would say that to you. But I love that he said that to me because I think I would let go of myself. But I think this is you're gonna get heat for this.
Okay,
but I'm
so
gonna say it.
You
But
like that a point out when
it doesn't feel good when you tell me it's like, oh, you got a little chubbier. Like, what's
a little
happening?
chunky there.
Yeah, it's like what's happening, and I
go
don't
like
like
that.
how that feels in the moment. I'm like, what the heck? No, and then when I just focus on it, I think if it wasn't you helping me along the way or reminding me along the way, I would totally let myself go, and it's hard.
Yeah. I think you're right that he's going to get some heat over that. But what I want to say is I actually think that that's the sign of a very healthy relationship, because the truth is that in a lot of marriages that some things, it is important to me for my partner to be fit. They don't have to be ripped, but there's certain things to me that are important to me in order for that attraction to still be there. And and for some people, it's not about weight. It's something else that's attractive to them. And they need that to be present. It might be a certain style of communication or a certain way of loving them that has to be present in order for them to feel loved. And when you're in a relationship where you can't have the hard conversations, where you can't be brutally honest with each other, that's where division comes in. That's where you start to divide. And so I think that whether we're talking about weight or anything else, the fact that you can be open and honest with each other and that person be like, hey, let's talk about this, I think is actually very healthy. I think the majority of marriages are not doing that. And they're keeping their mouths shut and they're silently unraveling.
Forsake not to argue.
Because I don't want to hurt their feelings or I don't want to argue. And that is actually a very unloving and unkind thing to do, to avoid having the conversation. The most loving thing that you can ever do is be willing to have the hard conversations.
Yeah, because it builds up. There's a lot of
It brings
build-up.
connection when you have hard conversations. When you avoid and you keep quiet and you shove it down, it creates divisiveness.
Speaking of weight, I don't like skinny girls. I always have how you look, but there's two things, right? There's one thing for me to express, like, hey, I like your hair that way. And number two is it makes me feel loved when you do things that I like. So it's kind of these two
we all do.
benefits.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Like, that person is trying for me.
Yes, it makes you feel like that person's putting in an effort for me, and it makes you feel loved because you're like, this is important to me. And when that person is responding to that, it makes you feel loved.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just there's different seasons in life where you're just feeling like you're buried and you're like, I can't do what you want me to do. Just hang in there for a second.
Yeah. And I think it's great to even communicate that, for him to be able to say, what he wants or needs, and for you to be able to say, I hear you and I recognize that, and right now I'm in the season of this, so here's what would be helpful for me. You know what I'm saying? And again, when you're in a loving, committed relationship, there's going to be seasons, and there's going to be times when that person is really meeting your needs and making you feel seen and loved, and there's going to be times where you're feeling like you're on the back burner. And
we had that. We had that moment back when we worked in Seattle. When we woke up at 4 a.m. to go to Seattle, we traveled a couple hours.
We had corporate jobs in Seattle.
Yeah.
That there was no time for makeup, for sleep, for anything. And I'm like, honey, I understand. And it's like, at some points in your life, you do take a breath and you're like, I have to hold it. Hopefully that holding the breath is not for too long.
No, it's good to rebalance each other. Also, sometimes when we go into a conversation, it's like, I really don't like how you said that. And I'm like, like you just want to snap and be like, no, like that's how I felt. Like, and then you're like, oh no, wait a minute, he's right. I shouldn't be reacting that way. So it's good to have, it's so important for somebody to constantly remind you and get you better. And you always say that like people that have never been in a relationship, they're like the hardest people to deal with because they usually are not as, like there's
not
They don't know
shaped.
how to compromise and
yeah,
be flexible.
compromise, yes.
And be
If
flexible.
I was single again, which I hope you never make that decision, but I would never go after a person that never had a relationship
Yeah.
because they've never been molded.
Yeah. It's same thing for me at being divorced. I would never date someone who doesn't have children because they don't understand the sacrifice and the complexities of it.
Yeah.
If they've never had children.
For a lot of people, feminine means having a man make all the decisions for them, often forgetting themselves in the process. Can you be both feminine and pursue your own dreams at the same time?
Yeah, I love this question because I have a strong personality and I am a very direct, straightforward person. You will never ever
You're
wonder.
my favorite person. That's how I am.
You will never wonder where I stand. But there are people out there that will translate that into being like, oh, you're being very masculine, right? That's not very feminine. And
Someone called you alpha the other, like way long ago. I'm like, I don't like
yeah,
that.
like, oh, you're an alpha female and this and that. And I just hate all of those stereotypes because what I've noticed in the world is that when a woman is very much in her masculine, so she's just like always there, never had like the feminine is more like the soft and nurturing side and like the caretaking side and the like that side. And we all have both of them in us.
Yes.
But when I see a woman show up that is always in her masculine, super masculine all the time, it's often because she's not in a safe relationship. And what I mean by that is she doesn't feel emotionally or mentally safe in the relationship that she's in. So whether that's in her marriage or if she's not married and she's the one that has to take care of everything. And that tends to bring the masculine side out of a woman. And so a woman can be very strong and confident and successful and still be very feminine when she feels mentally and emotionally safe.
I can totally see that. I think there's two different sides. When people see me out in like a business world or like a lot of the times I'm very outspoken, I am in my masculine, but at home I'm very nurturing. I think like it's like it depends about your environment. So
Yeah.
that's interesting.
And like I said, we all have both of them in us. Men and women have a little more feminine energy and a masculine energy, and it shows up at different ways. And I think for women in business, especially when we're out there, we're showing up in a business environment, that masculine side is going to show up more because we're being more assertive, we're being more direct, that type of a thing. And so to me, being feminine and being soft and kind and caring and all of those things are not a negative thing. They don't make me weak. They don't make me less than. I think that it's beautiful. And I think when a woman, and that's something that I've put a lot of work in the last few years and I still have not perfected it, is that right balance of balancing my masculine and my feminine because I am direct and straightforward, but I don't want to come across as harsh or brash or cold. I still want I want people when they're around me to feel warmth and kindness and life, but also for me to be able to be the direct, straightforward person.
How are you
am.
working on it? I need help.
I think the first step is just being aware. The first thing is just being aware. And
I think like the fact that I'm Ukrainian is part of it too. I am
part of it,
so
cultural.
direct.
Yeah, I'm German. And I also am 15% Russian Ukrainian.
Oh, okay.
And so,
welcome to the club.
Like you add German and Russian Ukrainian into me, and so part of it is culturally, part of it is just how we're wired.
Right.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was just it started with awareness, and I have to say that the more that I have just healed my heart of things that have either hurt me in my life or stories that people have said to me that I believed about myself that were not true, the more that I have worked to heal those things, the more that I have softened. And I have this statement now that when I describe myself, that I say that I am strength wrapped in kindness.
I love that.
And because I think that women who are strong will often get mislabeled as, being a certain way. And I think also women that are strong think that if they are too much in their feminine, that it'll make them look weak. And I don't believe either of those things to be true.
I just think it's so amazing what you said, like especially during the first part, that the whole defensive mechanism creates that similar this strong character. And a lot of people kind of mix that kind of the defense behavior with the actual like just an outgoing personality.
Yeah.
And
That's
that is interesting. So yeah, there's a time, and there's some people in our lives that kind of interpret it like, oh, Tim, are you safe in your relationship? I'm like, I love Natalia being outspoken.
Yeah, there are men that love that, and there are men that do not. And, you know.
I love to hear her opinion. I love when she's thriving and she has things going on in her life. Just your opinion.
In our relationship, it's a little bit different. I think people that meet us for like 2 minutes, they think that I am the one that's like
making all the decisions.
Yes. And then the people that are in our lives, they see how strong you are. Yeah. Sometimes we have to wrestle. We have a saying that I put my foot down, and then he says I put 2 feet down. That means it's more important to him. Yeah. Sometimes we wrestle on decisions, but it's just like you're very strong too. I think it takes a strong man to handle a strong woman.
Yeah, I think that people, when they think of masculine, they think of like this like overbearing, you know, push you around, boss you around, blah, 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 demean you. And to me, masculinity is actually very gentle. Like a strong, confident, masculine man does not have to show people how strong he is.
That's true.
And they actually show up much more gentle. And the more gentle I see a man, the more confident I know he is. When I see a man that shows up and he's all brash and harsh and like pride and arrogance and this and that, I'm like, that's a man that's not very secure with himself.
I agree with that. It takes a confident man to have an outspoken wife, a strong woman.
Yes. Because if you're not confident, then you're going to be challenged by that, and you're going to feel like confronted by it, and then you're going to feel like you have to compete with it. And when you're so confident and strong in who you are, that doesn't feel like competition. You're like, bring it. Like, let's do it.
It's fun.
Have you seen one of those posters? God, if you can't make me skinny, make my friends fat.
I agree with that poster.
That's so funny.
Put the friends down, put your wife down.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like when I see a man that is just like, I call it quiet confidence, like quiet strength. When I see a man that is just like so confident in himself, he's actually quite gentle, you know, and then I'm like, he's pretty strong.
You know, it's funny when you say specifically this, like sometimes when you're in your own relationship, you don't see that. But when I think about my dad, he is like so quiet, and my mom is like really loud, and like she's very chatty. And I lived in that home, so I know who's in charge. My dad is definitely in charge. My mom can say whatever she wants, but my dad is just like
he's
silent
like that
boss.
big gorilla.
When you know you're the boss, you don't feel like you have to push people around.
Yeah, he's just like living the best life, and mom just adds energy to the whole thing.
Yeah. He's sitting there like, that's cute.
That's cute. Keep on talking.
No, seriously, that's totally my dad's the best description. Yeah. Like he walks into the room and he's just like so powerful, but like he doesn't make a lot of noise or fuss about it.
Yep.
That's so funny.
Toxic versus beneficial relationships. How important is it for a woman to be surrounded by the right people?
You know, it's funny because I didn't have a ton of really good, strong girlfriends in my life, like female friends in my life for a long time, until I got much older. And the difference that it makes having really healthy female friends in your life, I think, make a huge difference for a woman in general. I think you don't have to have a ton of them, but if you've got like 2 solid friends that there's no jealousy, there's no competition, there's no like, oh, well, my kid did this. Did your kid do this? Or my kid, like, because there's so much of that. Like, I feel like moms a lot of times are pitted against each other. Like, well, I stay home, well, I work. And then like both, you know, there's just, there's so much competition. And that I think that it is really, really important for a woman to have friends that they know they can. It's actually very hard to find, but friends that you know you can tell them anything. They're not going to judge you. They're not going to go tell everybody your business. They're not going to feel like they compete against you. They can celebrate you. And I think that women hold on to toxic friendships way too long because they assume that that's just the way that it is. Or, well, I've known her for so long, or our kids are friends, or whatever. And so I've noticed it with a lot of women around me that they tolerate a very toxic relation, whether it's marriage, whatever, or friendship. There's a tolerance for it. And I just think that it's such a game changer when you have a couple people on your side that, that like, they're just your ride or die, right? Like they're not going to judge you. They're not going to be jealous of you. I think it makes a difference for a woman's level, I think, of happiness and joy in life when they have that.
Yeah. I think the challenging part, like, and we moved to Nashville 4 years ago, and we got like into this large group of people. You're getting to know people. The hardest part, like, even if you have those like toxic, well, I don't want to call them toxic, but people that are just not like a positive experience for you in your life, letting them go because you don't want to hurt their feelings. You want to still be nice in the process, and you feel guilt. I have a lot of guilt where like, first of all, actually, second question that kind of ties in all this too. Like, as a business owner, there's not enough time to have a lot of friendships because you have people in the industry that you're really close friends with. They may not be local. They're really close. They understand you. And second thing is like, these friends that are in your life because you're living in this like world here. And it's really like, how do you deal with that where like friendships, running a business, and all of this all together?
Well, part of our friendships happen by proximity, right? Like, they live in the same neighborhood. Our kids play the same sports. You know, like a lot of times, especially when you have children that are school aged, the people who are your friends just it's by proximity. You didn't necessarily, yes, maybe you chose them out of the group that was there, but it's by proximity. And what ends up happening is, and we can have a lot of those, right? And to me, there's like these different levels of friendships. And so I have some friends that are just friends by proximity. And guess what? If my kid isn't playing football anymore, I'm probably not ever going to hang out with that woman again once our kids are done playing football. Not because I didn't like her, but we were friends by proximity.
Right.
And so I think it's important to know what the difference is, right? Is like, and to know where to invest. And so I always look and I'll tell my kids this when my daughter has like an argument with a friend or something and she's trying to decide what to do. And I'm like, is this a friendship that matters a lot to you? And if it is, then you fight for it. If it's not, then you just let it go, right? It's not worth the fight. Like, is this person so important to you that you're like, we need to have the hard conversation. We need to do the things. And so I think number one, that's the first thing is like, am I friends with this person by proximity? And is it for a season? Because I have a lot of friends that have come in and out of my life. My son played hockey. I don't talk to any of those women anymore now that my son doesn't play hockey. Like my son ran track. I have one person that I still talk to now that my son has graduated and is, doesn't run track anymore. I only have one of those women that I still talk to. And I think that is okay and it's normal. And we don't need to feel guilty about it. Like it's just different seasons of life and by proximity. But those people that like you really do know, like this person gets me, I can share things with them. I don't have to compete against them. They matter to me. I think that we have to make the effort. And again, you don't need a bunch of them. It can be one or two, like 3 at the max.
Yeah.
But what I try to do, and it's so easy in this day and age because of technology, but I try at least once a week if I'm either calling that person or texting that person and just having a conversation with them. And if I can get together with them once a week, great. But if I can't, then I'm at least communicating with them. Because I think that women are really good at, they could go long periods of time without seeing each other. And then when they get together, they can pick up like right where they left off.
Depends on the person.
It depends, right.
Yeah.
And so, but there's got to be something that's happening in between. And so I make an effort, whether, I don't have to do this now, but there was a period in time in my life where I would just put it on my calendar and it'd be like Wednesday morning or Saturday morning or whatever. I'm going to fire off texts to the 2 or 3 people, or I'm going to pick up the phone and call the 2 or 3 people that matter to me the most and be like, how was your week? Yeah. What do you have going on right now? Like, how can I support you? And it only takes a couple minutes.
Yeah.
And so like we need those touch points for those people that are really important to you. But, different seasons, you're going to have more time for friendships and there's any seasons when you don't. But I think even when you don't, if you can just have a touch point with them, I think that it makes a difference.
Are there friendships that are toxic to you? And is it okay? Because I know some people that feel guilty not like letting go of their friends. And is it normal to flush the friends that are obstacles in your life, or are all friends good friends?
Well, I think you have to decide if they're an obstacle or not. And so here's what I mean by that. Like, we can have friends in our life that I believe that we can't share our dreams with everyone. Right. And we have, and like, you have that friend that like, that's the fun friend. If you want to go out and have a good time, you're calling her. Then you have the friend that like, you can tell like really hard things to, and that person can handle the hard things and go deep with you. But then you have other friends that you're like, I can't go deep with that person. And so I think it's important, first of all, to identify like, am I asking this friend to be somebody that they can't be? Number one, like, can I just be like, I love this person, but I just know I'm not going to call her when this happens versus the other. And so if it's not an unhealthy relationship, it might just be you have different friends for different things. But I also think that, and this comes to family or friends, you can't share your dreams with everyone because not everyone can handle that. They want you to stay who you were. That feels comfortable to them. Because also what happens is when you start to rise and achieve, it makes them feel different about themselves. And so they're like, oh, that person lost weight, but I didn't. Oh, that person has success, but I didn't. And so they start making what you're achieving mean something about them. And that's where it gets really unhealthy. And that's when you have to say, is this person actually an obstacle to me? And I need to slowly remove myself from that friendship. Or is it just that there are certain things I just can't talk about with that friend?
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's what you have to kind of feel out is, could you have a friend that is an obstacle? Yes. They could be an obstacle, in my opinion, if you're sharing everything with them. They're always putting you down. They're always discouraging you. They're telling you why you can't do it. And like, and you're allowing that to affect how you feel about yourself or your decision making, then yes, it becomes an obstacle. But if you can say, you know what, that's just who Kim is. And I know that about her. And I know I'm just not going to talk about these things, but I love everything else about her, and everything else about that is healthy. And so that's just a topic we don't talk about.
That's a great way to look at it, because there are people, I mean, we grew up as immigrants. We started from nothing. And so then you have like some success in life. And then you feel like people will be like, oh, you're just too good for me. No, I'm not too good for you. My life just, and then you feel, I actually was telling Tim, I was like, we need to film another podcast. This, you can remove this part, another podcast about like what Move did for us.
Yeah.
Because it like financially, it was the best thing growth wise for us because we removed ourselves from that environment.
Yes.
And we were no longer limited by the environment around us.
Yes.
Because people would be like, oh, but you have a great house. Why are you moving? Mm-hmm. Yeah, the house is great, but I just want to be in this place.
Because there are people that are comfortable in their lifestyles and they don't want change.
Yes.
And there's people who are opportunists. They go and they discover the world, and they love to start up different businesses. And I guess you learn to kind of let go of the people that don't want to move, because I mean
you can still love them.
You can still love them, meet up with them.
Yeah. And it really is, majority of the time, it's about them. They see you having something that they want that they don't have. And so they're making you wrong for it. Like, well, why isn't this good enough for you? Or why do you have to do this? And a lot of times it really is more about themselves. It is about either jealousy or them feeling less than, or they'll see, it happens in weight loss where people will lose a lot of weight and then they'll lose friends that didn't lose the weight, because then it makes them feel like, oh gosh, she went and did that and I didn't. And so it makes them feel bad about themselves because they didn't do it.
I have a group of friends that one of the friends lost weight, and they're like, well, she's losing too much weight. We're worried about her. I'm like, I just saw her. I'm like, she looks great. Like, why are you worried about her? She's a grown up.
Yeah, that happened in my family too. I had my mom had lost a lot of weight at one point in time, and someone else in our family was like, oh my gosh, you're getting so skinny. You better stop. Like, why are you doing this? Like
we're worried about you. Like, dude.
Yeah, we're worried about you. Go eat something. And it's like, this is great.
Yes. Yeah. I'm like, she looks amazing. She does not look. She's like, we need to call her. I'm like, no, you don't need to call her. She's fine. Yeah. Like,
we have way too many opinions about other people, and the majority of the time it's because it's a reflection of how we feel about ourselves.
That is
so interesting. I love that.
Okay. Yeah. How do you help women balance their professional ambitions with their personal lives?
That's tricky, because I think that we're really good at playing the comparison game. We see other women doing certain things and we think, oh, I should be doing that, or I wish I was there at that point. And I think the most important thing that any woman can do is to recognize the season that they're in. So when you are in a season where maybe you just got married and you don't have children, you're going to have a lot more freedoms to pursue your ambitions, go hard, hustle, grind, go after what you want. And then you have babies, right? And in that newborn phase, like, you're just trying to survive. Like, you're not sleeping, you're not showering.
Survive is not
like,
the word.
Yeah, like, you're just trying to stay alive, keep this baby alive, right? Like, you're just trying to stay afloat. And so you cannot like be in hustle and grind mode in your business when you're that, because I started my magazine. My son was 9 months old, and then I was pregnant when I had the magazine. And that's why eventually I sold it, because I was in this season
Burnout.
where I was like, I can't do all of this. Like, I can't do all of it well. And I was like, I want to be a great mom and I want to be a great business owner. And you can do both. But I think that like how fast or how hard you go changes per season. And that was really hard for me, because I am a naturally driven, ambitious person. And I want to do like everything right now and go hard all the time. And the best gift I ever gave to myself was to say, stop looking at what other people are doing. Stop wishing I was here. Stop wishing I was there. And just be like, what season am I in? And what is the right thing for me to do in this season? So for example, when my son was a senior in high school, senior year is very, very busy. There's a lot that happens senior year. You're about to move that kid off to college if they're going to college, or whatever's going to happen. And I was not going to miss a single thing in my son's seat. I wasn't missing a track meet. I wasn't missing an event. And that was my own personal choice. And so I had to say no to like 12 conferences I wanted to go to. I had to say no to certain clients. I had to drop out of certain masterminds that I was in, because in that, I was like, listen, like this is so important to me. And other people, that might not be the same importance, and it's not wrong. But like, I recognize that season. And then now I'm also in a season where I'm like, I've got 1 year left with my daughter before she leaves for college. And I, again, don't want to miss a moment. And so I intentionally slowed myself down, and it's not easy, but I made the choice to say, this is the season of life I'm in right now. What is the most driven and ambitious and that I can do with still enjoying every moment I have with my daughter? Because guess what? When they leave, I can do whatever I want, right? I can get crazy. I can hustle again. And so I think those seasons come and go depending on the age of your children, depending on where you're living, depending on what's happening in your marriage. And so I think the best thing that a woman can do is again, not compare themselves, because I've done that where I'm like, oh my gosh, well, she's doing this. I could do that. And then I'm like, but then I'd have to miss all my son's track meets. And so I think that is, we can do it all. We just can't do it all at once.
That's very true. When I was sharing that egg hunt story, so it's like I was driving, so I was thinking about all this, and I came to a conclusion. It's like, we focus so much. Let me get my kids out of the diapers, and then I'm going to be so happy. It's going to be easier. Oh, let me get my kids to walk, and then, oh, let me get my kids to go to school, and then it's going to be so great because I have this the whole day. And then they're like in middle school, and you're like, oh, I cannot wait till they drive. And all of these seasons, we constantly worry about when they do the next thing.
Next season.
And then all of a sudden, kids are gone. And you're like, whoa, like what just happened? You were constantly wishing for the next season, for the next thing. And in a moment, we often forget. So I was like, I had to scale back and be like, you know what? This is a different season of my life. Egg hunts are gone. Like, we're not doing them anymore. But now I need to focus on now. Like, if my son is on a cut, like he's doing his crazy cut, he wants me to weigh his beef every morning for him. I'll do that for him, because that's what makes him happy. I should focus on now. And that's like so important, that as a woman, like we constantly, and we compare so much too. Like we look at another woman, like you said, like we're like, oh wow, she's so, like, I wish I could do that, but I don't have the freedom. But I also think it's important to, like, this is kind of what I was thinking in this whole big picture. You can't be too invested in a season and not work on the future. I don't know if that's like how you feel too, but like, do you feel like women sometimes gets, like, for example, babies? We're so focused on this baby season, we lose ourselves sometimes. Like, you were career driven. I have always had a job, like, was always career driven. But like, we have the seasons. I think it's so important to either explore a hobby, to continue your growth. Like even in a season where you're not showering, it's still important to have something in the background that you're learning from. Do you feel the same way, or do you feel like kids go off to college and then you're like, oh, what do I do with my life?
I think I agree. I think that when the kids are young, we're just like, oh, when they get to this age, it's gonna be easier. When they get to this age, it's gonna be easier. Like that never comes, right? It just changes. It never gets easier. It's different, different. And I do think that we sacrifice everything of like, oh, I have to do all this for the kids, and then you give up your hobbies, you give up your passions. I have a friend that I had lunch with last week she has one child and she's getting ready to graduate, and I was like, what are you going to do when she leaves? Like, are you and your husband so excited? And she's like, I have no idea. And I'm like, well, what are your hobbies? And she was like, I don't have any. I'm like, what are your passions? She's like, I don't have any.
That's
scary. And so she's sitting, and I was like, what do you mean? But the same thing, if someone were to ask me like, oh, what is your hobby? I'd be like, working. And I'd be like, but it's okay because I love working.
Yes. Yeah.
But now I'm getting to a season where I'm about to be an empty nester, and I'm like, no, my hobby is not working.
Can travel be a hobby?
Yeah, travel is going to be my new hobby. And so I do think that I don't care what it is, that when your kids are little or the whole time you're raising kids, that a woman needs to have something that is hers, that she enjoys doing. I don't care if you play pickleball or if you go to watercolor class or you go to like hip hop class. I don't care, right? Like do something that is just for yourself that you still have an interest in, because before you know it, like you said, you look up and those kids are about to leave. And especially even in your marriage, like a lot of, everybody's so focused on taking care of the kids, and then all of a sudden they're gone and you're like, I don't even know this person. I don't even know if I like them. And I don't even know what I like. And so I do think that we spend way too much. Yes, we should be focused on our children, but we lose ourselves in the process. And so I think that it is important to be present and enjoy and recognize the season you're in and know that you might have to adjust for it. But that doesn't mean that like everything has to go away.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And what happens too, and I want to point out one thing, because there is a time where I would see other women who they were married, they did have kids my age, and they were out there just like crushing it in their business. They were like working so hard and this and that. And I'd be like, well, if they can do it, why can't I do it? I should be able to do it. And I'd be like, what's wrong with me that I can't handle what they're doing? But the thing is you have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. People hide. True. You have no idea what's happening. And I have watched probably at least a dozen of those women that I used to look at and be like, why can't I do what they're doing? They're all divorced now. Or they've all lost their businesses or other things. And so like, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes of that person's life, or they might just have different values than you, which is fine. And so I think the comparison game is so damaging, and you have to be really careful to just be like, what is important to me and my family right now, and focus on
comparison is a hard one, because oftentimes even in business I compare myself to the peers and I'm like, why am I not there, right? Like I'm doing everything, why am I not there? And I have to stop myself intentionally.
It does more damage to you than good.
Absolutely.
It does, yeah. They say comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
Is the statement.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's the truth. So as a mom, like we're talking to a mom that's so busy. Let's imagine this. A bunch of kids, so busy. What would you recommend for her to start with?
If she wants to start a business?
No, not anything like outside of just being a mom. Hobbies? Would you make a list of things that you love? Or
I think that they need to find one friendship that they can really nurture.
Okay.
Right? We don't have capacity, especially, with kids, business, whatever it is. Like we don't have capacity to manage 10 friendships. You're going to manage 10 friendships really poorly. Like
I agree with that, actually. Yeah. And I had a friend that was upset with me. I'm like, I can't allow too many friends in my life because then I'm a bad friend to everybody. And she was so upset with that statement. She's like, how dare you say you're too busy for friends? I'm like, I'm just going to be a terrible friend to everybody.
Yeah. I'd rather be a really good friend to 2 people than a terrible friend to 10 people.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
So true.
And so I think you pick one friendship that's really important, that you really want to nurture and put time into. It's just like a marriage. Friendships require nurturing and time if you want them to really be deep friendships. And so pick a friend, that you want to pour into, that you want to spend time with. And I do think you've got to find something that you enjoy doing that you can go do either by yourself or with your friend or with your husband, whatever it is. I don't care, but it's something outside of the children that is your own interest. And if you can maintain that through all of the different seasons of motherhood, then I think you'll have a lot more happiness, a lot less stress. And I think you'll actually achieve more because you won't get to your 40s and go, oh my gosh, I hate my life and I don't even know who I am.
Yeah.
And then you just burn it all to the ground, you
No,
know?
that's true. And I also think I want to highlight this because we're talking so much about like finding something, being successful and all this stuff. Motherhood is such a beautiful season. It's an important
Absolutely.
season and it's so important. And I think some moms like, I wish I could have 6 kids and I wish I could just be the mom and like being a mom is a beautiful thing. But I also think that like, that's why I just want to highlight that because I don't want people to be like, oh, this too.
We're not knocking motherhood. Like I said, it's sacrificial, but it's beautiful. It's an honorable sacrifice. Like the fact that you even get the honor and the privilege to be a parent is a beautiful thing. But I think that some women, once they become mothers, think that that is their sole purpose and that is the sole thing they're supposed to do. And you can be a good mother and also have a hobby. You can be a good mother and also pour into your marriage. You can be a good mother and also pour into a friendship. You might not be able to have a large quantity,
Yeah.
right? It's not about quantity, it's about quality.
Yeah.
And in different seasons of your life, you might need a very small amount that are very quality, and at other seasons you might have room for more.
You know what I appreciate about Natalia is when we had kids, maybe
Oh,
this
I
will
like the
upset some
compliments.
people, but you didn't sit in the back seat with the kids.
Oh, that was the rule. That's funny because it's like you were like, no, that was your dad's rule. It's so
dad's
weird.
rule?
He's like, do not sit with the kids on the back the moment you have kids.
Oh yeah, like we definitely took care of the kid, but you were up there in front. We're still making conversation. It's not like we have the
Yes.
child and we completely split our ways.
Yeah.
You were a mom. I was a dad. Well, probably a lot less than you were a mom, but you were there with me as well. We still had a moment to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's important.
I think travels helped us a lot too. We travel a lot. Like, so that is really helpful because then that allows us to unplug and spend more
That was
and
more
time
like
together.
unplugged from the business, from the
business,
stress.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Business.
Yeah.
Yeah, right
It's
now with
important.
kids, it's like just to catch kids a little bit, like spend some time together before they leave for college. So how do you define true success for women?
I think that each woman has to decide what success means to her. I think that the world wants to tell us what success means, like, oh, you make a certain amount of money, or you have a certain house, or you have a certain car, or you have a certain lifestyle, and it's this way and it's that way. And we let the world tell us what success means and what it looks like. And I think that that's where a lot of people lose themselves, is they're chasing after what the world has told them success means.
Keeping up with the Joneses.
Yep. And it's funny because I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine about 5 years ago. And so I was like, let's say I was like 40 probably at the time. And I was like, I'm going to work forever. I'm going this hard forever. I can't imagine ever doing anything different. And she was in like her early 50s. And she was like, I don't want to go that hard anymore. I just want to sit on the beach like this and that. And I was like, oh, I'll never be that way. Like I'm always going to want to do this. And now I'm like, you know what? This new business that I'm building, I am building it for the next season of my life. And it looks very different than the way the last 12 years looked. And I get to decide what success means to me based on what is going to make me feel fulfilled, what's going to bring me joy, like based on the season of life that I'm in. And so there was a time when my goal was like, I want to build a $10 million a year business. I want to build a $20 million a year business. And now I'm like, I want to work just enough to pay for my kids to go to college, maintain my lifestyle, and get to go to the beach as often as I want to. Like, that's all I want to do. I don't want any more than that. And someone might look at me and be like, oh my gosh, that's so sad. Like, that's all you want. You don't want more and more and more and more. And I was like, at this season in my life right now, nothing would bring me more joy than to be able to maintain my current lifestyle and be able to travel and not have to work like crazy. And so I don't have a goal of a $10 million business anymore. I have a goal of a specific way of living. And so when it's like, how do you define success? Like, you have to define that for yourself.
Yeah, that's
and be okay with it might look different. Like, and especially in the work that I do in the online marketing space, I feel like everybody, it's like, you got to hit 6 figures, then you got to hit 7 figures. Now you got to do 10 million. Now you got to do 8 figures. And like, there's always this, like, it's never enough. You got to keep going. You got to keep going. And for the people that's what success means to them, great. Like, that's wonderful. But I always felt this pressure that like, that's what I had to do. That's what it would mean for me to be successful. And it wasn't until recently where when I closed my business, that I was like, what do I really want right now in this next season of life? What would success look like for me? What would feel really good? Yeah. And it is not building a $10 million a year business. I know what that's going to require. And I'm like, that does not sound fun at all.
Is it hard for you because you're so ambitious to have this mindset now of like, do you constantly have to remind yourself the goal is not this anymore? Or is it just a mindset overall? Because I feel like there's two different people that I fight with sometimes. We're in a process, we're going to be building the next house and we're going to move. It's literally down the street. But like, I'm like, keep on saying, keeping up with the Joneses, stop. Like, do I pick a quartz or quartzite? Like all of these things, they can make significant difference financially. And I'm like, is that important? But I constantly have to ground myself and remind myself like, that's not important to me. But in the process, you can get distracted. Yeah. So I feel like it's so important. Do you feel the same way? Or because you are so ambitious, you had this successful business?
I think you have to look at what is the motivation behind it. Right? Like, am I doing this because I really want to? It brings me joy. I love building new houses. I love designing new houses. I like doing this or that, or like whatever it is. Like, what's the motivation behind it? Or like, am I doing this because I feel like I have to? So I look a certain way, or people will think a certain thing about me. And I think that's where we get lost in trying to define success, is sometimes we're defining it based on what other people will think about us, or how we want other people to think about us. And so for me, I looked at my motivation. And the thing is that if you look up the definition of drive or ambition in the dictionary, there's no dollar amount next to that. Yeah. There's no square footage of your house next to that. There's no what neighborhood you live in that is drive and ambition. So I can be a driven and ambitious person, and that doesn't mean I have to make a certain amount of money or have a house that's a certain amount of size, or a house that's a certain size. Right. Like, it's about like how hard I'm willing to work to achieve whatever my definition of success is. Mm-hmm. And so it's the motivation to get me there that drives me, right? Yeah. And for some people, like I had a conversation with a friend recently, and I asked them like what their we were talking about, like, what is your goal of how much money you want to make? Mm-hmm. Like, is there a certain dollar amount you want to get to? And then you're like, I'm good there. Mm-hmm. Or is you're like, let's just see how far I can take this thing. Yeah. There isn't a number. Yeah. And neither one of them is wrong, based on like what you really want and what your motivation is. And so like, if it's like, there was a point in time in my life where I was like, hey, the thrill of the game is what excites me.
Like gambling.
There's no dollar amount that I am like, oh, when I get there, I'll feel good.
That's
because
how
this
I feel
is
right
fun.
Now.
Right? This is fun. Yeah. But now I'm at a point where I'm like, no, there's a certain type of life I want to live right now. And that's my motivation, and my drive is towards that. So I don't feel like I'm pulling my drive or ambition down at all, because I'm not like, oh, I'm not trying to strive for a $10 million business. My drive and ambition is still as alive as it was. It's just, it's working towards what means success to me now.
That's a good way to look at it. That's very interesting.
Yeah. Drive and ambition is about your motivation to go after what you want. And you could be like, I want to live in a 1-bedroom apartment on the beach. Like,
and still be very happy.
Yeah. And that would make me happy. And that doesn't mean you're not driven or ambitious. Yeah. Like, if
sometimes
that's what
I think
you
I'm
want.
like my next life, I'm like, I would love to live my next life. I would love to live in Italy in a tiny cottage. That would be so dreamy, so perfect. I was like, no, I'm not on board.
It's not about money, right? No, I
love not. I think that people equate drive and ambition to money.
Yeah.
And
that's true. No, they don't.
And material things. And it really doesn't have anything to do with that. It's about what's motivating you to.
I also feel like, so growing up in a Slavic culture, like the Russian, Ukrainian culture, because we are immigrants, it's like, it's always the status symbol, like the car you drive, the purse you carry, the coffee picture you take with the purse. Yeah. And I'm just like,
for you, really?
Huh? Not right now. No, not for me. Like, no, but like, I feel like in my 30s, I'd be like, oh, wow, she has that purse. I kind of want that purse. Yeah. Like, it'll like be a thing. And now in my 40s, I want linen. I want like textures. I want materials. I just want good quality stuff. I don't care. In the last, usually I'll buy something branded in Europe because it's cheaper there. Mm-hmm. Last trip, I did not even like care. Like, we just walked by this. I did not care. And it was so freeing. Yeah. But it's also like the keeping up with the Joneses and constant like proof of your ambition is exhausting.
Yeah.
Who are we proving it to?
Yeah. And that's when you know that the motivation is wrong.
Yeah.
Is like because you're trying to prove it to someone else, right?
That's true.
Because really we should be defining what success means to us, and our drive and ambition is working towards that. And it doesn't matter, right? And it's easy to say it doesn't matter what other people think. It's very easy for me to say that, but the truth is a lot of people struggle with it. And I mean, I remember a time when I couldn't afford a Coach purse. And so
I remember the Coach
I
purses.
dreamed of having a Coach purse, right? And then when the time came that I could afford it, and I had these Coach purses, and I just like felt so accomplished, like, oh my gosh, this is like an external proof.
Was this like
of
early
the fact of what I
2000s?
achieved, right?
And then you find out there's more.
Then the funny thing was, then I put my kids into a private school where there's a lot of people there who make more money than me. I mean, there's people there with private jets, and there's people that, and I found myself like, oh, I can't show up at the football game with a Coach.
No.
Like they're gonna, what are they gonna think of me?
What
Like,
did you get? I need to know.
A mess.
But the fact that I even thought that way, I had to check myself and be like, really? Am I like this? Something that I once thought was like was a dream. Now I'm embarrassed by it. Like, what is wrong with me?
Yeah, we constantly compare.
Yeah, we constantly compare and make it mean something. And I had to check myself and be like, you know what? I'm gonna carry my Coach purse. And if they want to talk about me, let them talk about me.
Yeah.
I like the purse, like, you know. And so, and that's just an example of a brand. But like I'm saying, we do that all the time, right? And I do think that, yes, whether you're an immigrant or not, I think we all do it. But I had a conversation with a friend actually this past weekend who is an immigrant, and same thing. She feels like she needs to be like the Joanna Gaines of, the work she does. And everybody was like, why do you feel like you have to do that? But it's like almost this pressure. Well, I moved to the United States, and like, I feel like I have to like achieve, something. And it's, so I think that plays into it as well.
Yeah.
But even even people born in the United States that aren't immigrants still go through that.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so what separates highly successful women from the rest?
I think, and again, how do we define success,
Yeah.
right? But in my opinion, the difference between a woman who is highly successful and who is not is a woman who truly knows who she is. And what I mean by that is when you have gotten to a place where you know who you are, you know what you want, you know what your values are, you're not willing to compromise them for anyone, you're not willing to change who you are for everyone, you're not willing to put on a mask, you can achieve anything you want to achieve. But as long as you are being fake and you are betraying yourself, women betray themselves all the time by doing things they don't want to do, tolerating things they don't want to tolerate, being in situations they don't want to be in. We are so good at betraying ourselves. And you could have money and be miserable and hate your life. And so to me, a successful woman is someone who is able to show up in the world truly 100% herself, authentic, not betraying herself in any way.
Confident.
And
she's confident with
she's
the
confident.
Coach purse. I own the Coach purse.
She's confident in who she is, and she is not betraying herself. And when you can do that, that is success. The dollar amount or how all the material things you can have, that is not the difference between a woman who is successful and isn't. The woman who is successful is someone who can say, here's all of me. This is who I am. I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm going to embrace it, and I'm not going to betray myself.
I don't need a brand to tell me how my worth. I can just not wear a brand and feel just as
because let me tell you
expensive, right?
something. I had all of those things, and I had a miserable marriage. And on the outside, everybody would have thought that, like, oh my gosh, Adrienne's so successful. Adrienne has this, Adrienne has that. Nobody had any idea what was happening on the inside. But on the inside, I'm quietly unraveling. My marriage is falling apart. I'm miserable. I was depressed. And I would not have called myself a successful woman at that time. But on the outside, everybody's like, oh, look at everything that Adrienne's achieving. She's amazing. She's this, she's that. And meanwhile, I was betraying myself left and right. I was miserable. I couldn't show up as myself. I thought that being myself wasn't okay. And so for me now, the way I define success is someone who can really, truly be like, all in. This is me.
Yeah.
I'm not betraying myself. And and that is success. And so whatever else you want to do with your life in terms of work, parenting, whatever that is, that is secondary.
Okay, so you just said that like on the outside you looked like the perfect successful person, and then on the inside you were crumbling. How did you deal with that day to day? And like, I would love to hear how like that transition happened for you, where you, I guess, recognized it, and how did you like deal with that part of it?
Yeah, and we chatted a little bit about this before we started recording, is there are a lot of people in this world that are dying on the inside and nobody has any idea. There are people in this world that are depressed, they're unraveling, their marriages are falling apart, their kids are suffering, whatever, and nobody has any idea because we are too ashamed, embarrassed, or whatever, especially high achieving, driven, ambitious people.
Yeah.
The last thing we ever want anybody to think is that we don't have it all together. That the outside doesn't match the inside. Because what will people think of me? They'll think less of me. They won't think I'm successful. They won't think that I'm confident. They won't think I have my act together. And so I think that people who are very driven and ambitious are the ones that hide the most. And they put up this really good picture of how successful things are, but on the inside, they're quietly unraveling. And I know for me, I got so good. We become disconnected. We get so good at disconnecting our bodies from our emotions, our body from our feelings, our body from our brains. And so I'm someone who can change their state in a minute. I can be in my bedroom crying my eyes out, sad, heartbroken, whatever, and then be like, all right, get your act together. You got to go do this. And I can change my state in a moment. But it's only because I've gotten so good at having to do that for so long. And it's actually extremely unhealthy.
Yeah, no, it's
true. It is
true.
extremely unhealthy. And that means that I got so good at disconnecting my mind from my body, my heart from my body.
Yeah.
And I could make my body on the outside do one thing. I could put a smile on my face. I could carry myself with confidence. I could walk in a room and people be like, wow, she's a really confident woman. And I had a friend say to me once, you are the most unconfident, confident woman that I know.
She saw something.
Oh my
Something's
gosh.
going on.
Because she knew behind the scenes how much I was struggling with stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, what did you say? Like, and so I think that highly driven, ambitious people are really, really afraid that if they're truly
weak somewhere.
that it's a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
I used to believe that vulnerability was a weakness.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'd see somebody being really vulnerable and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she just did that. Like I would never, because that just makes her look so incompetent. And when I got healthy, I realized it takes an incredible amount of strength to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
It takes a really strong, confident person to show up vulnerable. And so vulnerability is not a weakness. It is a strength. And most people don't have it. And that's why most people aren't vulnerable. And so I think, I don't even remember what the original question was now, but
No, like how did you carry yourself on the outside?
I disconnected. I became so disconnected from myself. And I got really good at betraying myself. And that's how I was able to keep showing up. But eventually it falls apart.
Yeah.
Eventually it falls apart. And when I was going through my divorce, there were days where I'd have to contact my team and just say, cancel everything on my calendar today. I can't get out of bed.
Oh.
I can't get out of bed. And nobody knew that was happening except for like that one person on my team.
Yeah.
They would contact my clients and be like, oh, Adrienne had something come up. She needs to reschedule. Or, oh, there was a thing with Adrienne's son today. She needs to rebook. Like nobody had any idea what was happening except for maybe one or two people. And I just literally would be like, I can't get out of bed today. I need you to clear my calendar.
So you still had people you could trust around you?
Yes, but it was hard to even
Let them know?
to let them know. I put it off for as long as possible. I put it off for as long as possible until I had to tell them because I couldn't function. Or I'd be like, hey, I have capacity today to get about 2 things done. What are the 2 most important things I need to get accomplished today in order to keep the needle moving, keep the business going, to take really good care of our clients? I can do those 2 things and I can't do anything else.
You make such a good point because I'm just looking back and I really do see that people that are on outside the most successful often have the hardest time going through, certain episodes in their life because they're still trying to maintain that image.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's
They're
why
not letting anybody in. They're not talking about it. And that's why they struggle so much.
they struggle so much. And then when everything happens, all of a sudden they just disappear because they don't want anyone to see what they're going through. They're ashamed of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
The level of shame in someone who is a driven, ambitious person when they don't have their act together, the amount of shame and embarrassment that they carry, it's like you can only put on a face for so long and then you just disappear.
Yeah.
You just disappear. And because you don't want people to see you in that state. And so you disappear until you do the work and you get healthy and you get on the other side of it. And then you kind of pop back up like, hey, I'm good. I'm back.
If you get help.
If you get there. Yeah. A lot of times people won't even get to that point.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's really hard for strong people to show their vulnerability and talk about what they're struggling with. They're just so afraid of the embarrassment, the shame, being judged, whatever it is. And they silently suffer. And it gets to the point eventually where it all just falls apart, or they get healthy enough that they realize, I actually need people, and I actually need to be vulnerable, and I actually need to be honest about this and face it.
Right.
And
Healthy also means being vulnerable in front of people. It's not like you can just fake it back where you were. It's like, hey guys, I'm not perfect.
Yep.
I did have a struggle, and just rebuild it in all honesty.
I feel like people still judge the perfect people. Like there's still people, a crowd of people that will judge the perfect people that we would describe. And so I was listening to this, and being vulnerable and being honest is like a strength. And I was listening, I don't know who made this statement, but I heard it somewhere. She said that people will still talk no matter what.
Yep.
People will still talk. Might as well have them talk about who I actually am and be honest and let them talk about my values. Because when somebody's been attacking you for your values or who you truly are, it's easier to defend because you're standing for the truth. That's who you are. But if you put on this fake face or this fake persona, it's really hard to defend it when people start talking about it. But when you truly believe in about something, it's like it's much easier. Let people talk. Who cares? Like because that's who you truly are. And it's hard to be vulnerable, even hard to do this whole thing right here too, because I know people will pick words and pull it out and be like judging us for something.
Yeah.
But I don't care.
Yeah, I agree. I think that when I had my agency, all of my social media posts were always business. Like I never talked about anything personal. People really didn't know the true me. Like if people went to a conference and met me in person, they were like, you're like really funny and fun to be around. But like on camera, on social media, I was always like serious and business. And like, so people like, they would get in a room with me and they'd be like, I feel like I didn't even know this about you. And when I decided to close that business and open my coaching business, I was like, if I'm going to attract these women that are suffering with this, I'm gonna have to admit that I did. And let me tell you, it has been terrifying for me to be that vulnerable and open and share. Like I've done a couple posts sharing where I had a bad day or I was struggling with something, and it was so scary for me to do. But I believe so deeply in the fact that like I know how many women are silently suffering that if I have to put myself out there and somebody's going to judge me and be like, oh, I can't believe she said that, or I can't believe she's going through that, or she's weak, or she's this and that. I am willing to do that now because I care so deeply because of what I went through. And I know how painful it was, that it's like, I have to be willing to do that. If I'm going to attract the women that need my help, I've got to show them that it's okay for them to get help. And the only way I can do that is for me to talk about those things. And so I always say, people be like, you're so brave. I'm like, I'm not brave. I'm doing brave things, but I don't feel brave doing them. I'm not doing them because I'm brave. I'm just choosing to do brave things. And so I think
I bet it's terrifying.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
But I mean, I think in a process of like, if people judge you for who you are, let them.
Yeah, I'm at that point too. Like, no matter what you do, you're never going to make everybody happy.
Yes.
Somebody's going to have something to say. I have an influencer I just saw this morning. She posted on social media. She used to be overweight and she used to talk about how much she loved her curves and people would judge her so much for being overweight. And then now she's lost weight. And she's like, I changed. Becoming really healthy and strong became important to me, 5 years later, 10 years later. And people are criticizing her for that. And she's like, well, at that point in my life, I was embracing my curves and that was authentic and true. And now I changed and I care about health. And so now I changed. And like people were mad at her then and they're mad at her now for different reasons. And like, we just can't make everybody happy. And we are allowed to change and evolve. We are supposed to grow and change and evolve. And people are going to say something about it no matter what. So just do what you want to do.
I saw a meme where there was a worm and a butterfly, and it says you changed to the butterfly. The worm said you changed, and the butterfly says we're supposed to.
Yep.
It's such a beautiful image. You should find. Wow. I'm gonna find it. Yeah, you should add it to the clip. Yeah. It was so beautiful, and I was like, "That's so touching." Like that is such a good image of like the worm. Is it called worm? Am I saying it properly?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
A caterpillar.
Caterpillar and a butterfly. Yes. It's like you're supposed to, and I'm like, that is so true. Like you could miss out on such a beautiful potential because think about it too. Like the butterflies are so beautiful.
Before you get to a butterfly, you have to be in a cocoon. Yep. So there's a little bit of that rock bottom you gotta hit.
Yes, you have to go through some things. And I mean, if we're the same person at 40 that we were at 20, something is wrong.
Yeah.
Like we're supposed to grow and evolve and change. And some people are gonna like that and some people are not, and that's okay.
Yeah. What stories of women's success have inspired you the most?
Or maybe whose particulars inspired you the most?
Or is there a story?
If I say, they're going to be pretty controversial.
Do it. Let's do it. I like controversial.
If you say in a positive way, not in a separating way.
Yes. Well, I'll say it, and if you hate it, you guys could just clip it. Okay, you can cut it out.
Let's do this
because she's very controversial. But I'll explain why I like her and have appreciation for her. So one of the women that I am inspired by is Candace Owens.
I literally expected you to say her.
And the reason, and no matter what your politics are, no matter what your beliefs are, what I love about Candace Owens is that she is so unapologetically herself. She's not afraid to say the hard things. She always shows up as herself, and you may or may not agree with her delivery on it and her personality, but I just have such an appreciation for the fact that she is who she is. She believes what she believes. You are not going to sway her. You are not going to bully her. You are not going to push her around. She's going to keep showing up. She's not going to get deterred. And so I just have such an appreciation for her because I know that's really hard to do.
I think it is a controversial person to pick, and that's totally fine because she is controversial.
Here. We're going to leave that in.
Yes. And so I think she could do a better job with her research because she said at one point that Ukraine was never a country and should not be its own country. And I was like,
that tickled my heart a little bit.
I'm not saying that what she's saying is 100% factual.
And I was like, wait a minute, if I see you in Franklin, because she lives somewhere here, I'm going to explain to you that I was born in Ukraine. And Ukraine is a country. Can you please change that? And I just struggled after that. But I was like, I like what you're saying, though. Like, I can totally see it. Like, she's fearless.
Yes.
She's fearless.
Well, I bet you if you talk to her, she probably might not even tell you she's fearless, but she's doing it anyways.
Oh, that's true.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Maybe. I don't know her personally. But
where do we find her?
Does it anyways. She does it anyways. Whether she is fearless or not, she is showing up and standing for what she believes in no matter what.
Mm-hmm. That's very true.
So I just have, the reason I have such an appreciation for that, and I'll tell you why that matters to me, is because my personality, my whole life, I was always told, you're too much. Dial it down. You're too direct and straightforward. You act like a man, you blah, blah, blah. You're alpha, right? Or you're so masculine, or you're so this. And so I spent my whole life trying not to be who I am. Yeah. And so when I got to a point where I was like, no, God made me this way. Mm-hmm. He wired me like, there wasn't an accident. This wasn't a cruel joke. Like he intentionally made me this way. And so someone like her, it isn't about what she believes in or whether it's factual or what she's saying. It is the fact that she knows who she is. She knows what she believes in, and she is going to stand up for it, whether she's scared or not. That's what she's going to be. And so for me, that is inspiring to see someone be able to do that, because that is something at 47 years old that I am just now learning how to do and being okay with it.
Also, the way you described yourself, it literally, like, you took words out of my mouth. That's who I am. And so going back to the roots, like growing up in a Slavic household where wives, like my dad, we have 4 girls and he raised us hustlers. Like it was very untraditional for the household. It wasn't like you shouldn't have a career. You better go get a career. You better go get a job. And all of my siblings are working because the way he raised us. He treated us like one of the boys, maybe because he only had one son and he really wanted a lot of the boys. But like one of the things when I grew up, all these girls were like timid, polite, sweet, the perfect wife. And I was like, sheesh, who's going to marry me?
Yes. I've thought the same thing. I'm like, no man is going to want to marry a woman like me, because they're going to want someone who's quiet and timid and, you know, like, I had
boring.
the same belief.
And boring. That's how I view it. Like,
He's like, that's boring.
No, I love that you admire that, but that there's not many men like you. And you know that in our friend group too, not many men like you think this way.
you let your wife make the decision. Yeah, I'd love to consult with someone that has an opinion, right? Like, I mean,
I got lucky, but like
I
in
got
general,
lucky
you're
too.
like, I constantly struggle. Like, I think you made, like I always say, you made a monster out of me. Like, he encourages this behavior, but like he encourages this behavior. But I always I was so insecure about this personality of mine. And like you said, I was born this way, and I was just like, what the heck is wrong with me? Can I just like zip it for once? But I can't zip it sometimes.
Yeah. And you know, I think that like as I've aged, I've gotten wiser. I've gotten more discerned. I have more discernment. And so I do know, like, you know what, this is not a time for me to say something. And other times I'm like, this is a time for it. So with wisdom comes discernment, but that doesn't mean I can't be who I am. It doesn't mean I change who I am. It just means that I just choose more wisely when I want to say something and how I want to say it. Rather than when I was 17, I would just fly off the handle and just say whatever.
Still fly off the handle sometimes.
It happens. It happens. But yeah, so that, you know, that's why I choose her. I think that, you know, just I love to see people just be who they are.
Don't you hate perfect friends? I always I despise.
I think they're
perfect
hiding
people.
something when they're perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes across as inauthentic.
Yes.
And those are very hard people for me to connect with. I just always will know right away, like, yeah, that's not going to be my person.
Yeah.
So we had this weird question, and I don't even know if that fits in from one of the listeners. I'm a mom and a wife. Is it too late for me to make 6 figures? And where do I start? I don't even know how that fits in.
You know, it's a really cool world that we live in these days, that with the internet and all the opportunities online. I want to say, number one, it's never too late to start. I mean, I know women who are just starting businesses in their mid 60s. You know, I know people. And so if you're, you know, a young mom and you have a couple of kids, like, heck no, it's not too late to start. I mean, I started my first business, my son was 9 months old.
Right.
I know people who wait and they're like, you know what, I want to wait till my kid's in middle school and, you know, and then I'll start. Like, I think it's a personal choice for everybody, but it's never too late. I mean, I have a friend who is in her 60s and she is a casting director and just like started a whole brand new, you know, business in her 60s. And so I just don't think that it's ever too late. And in terms of whether it's making 6 figures, 7 figures, I don't think that necessarily
Defines.
I mean, depending on the business that you do and how fast you want to grow, depending on the season of life that you're in, 6, 7 figures, all of that is possible. I mean, when I closed my business for a period of time and went and was the CMO for another company for 5 years. And when I left there, I came back and reopened my agency. I had 0 email lists, 0 social media following. I had nothing. And within 12 months, I made $1 million. And so I was starting from that. So like the time period or the season of life you're in does not determine how much money you can make or how. It could take you 6 months. It could take you 6 years to make 6 figures. It just depends. But I just don't believe it's ever too late for anything.
Yeah.
You know?
So I guess even if you did not have a career or something going on while you had kids, you can still, it's not too late to start. It's not too late to develop a hobby.
No, I mean, you can turn any hobby into a business, number one.
Right.
True.
Number two, you don't even have to sell your own stuff. You can sell stuff on Amazon.
Yeah.
You can sell, like, you can make money selling other people's stuff. I mean, I know people who are affiliate marketers, they sell other people's courses. They don't even sell their own courses. So whether you started a career or everybody has a skill set to do something. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you cook, you can make some recipes. You know, you can, like,
There's accidental career, but it came out.
you know what I'm saying? Like, you can turn almost anything into a business. I mean, I know a person who has a highly successful business where they go to people's houses and clean up the dog poop in the backyard because the owners don't want to do it or they're too busy. Like, you don't need any skill set whatsoever to do that. You don't even need a high school diploma. Like, you can, you know what I'm saying? You can turn anything into a business.
This weekend we were, and I like would never cater, but this weekend we did like the birthday party for Tim. It's so beautiful. Like, I had like this basil over, and I was like, this is a fun business. Like, you could play with somebody's money. Like, I would do it for the joy of playing with like somebody would pay me and go buy this stuff to create this beautiful spread. Yeah. And it's like, it could be a business. Anybody can start this business.
Anybody.
It's a simple thing. You just have to want to do it and know how to present yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, rapid fire questions.
Love those.
What is one of the common issues when you start coaching women or like working with women? What is one of the common things like they all have in common?
They think their problem, they don't actually know what their problem is. What they think is their problem is not their problem. It's very surface level, and there's something much more deeper that's at the root that's causing it. And so they always will come to, they'll come to me and say, oh, this is what I need help with. Like, this is the problem, but there's always a deeper root of what is actually the problem. And those are just side effects of what the actual problem is.
Like a symptom.
Is so true. Yeah.
It's a symptom or a side effect of a deeper problem.
So you're dealing with the gut. Like, you know how they say all the health issues come from our gut? You have to give the gut.
Yep.
Well, okay, so you look glorious. And you said you're 47. You already said it on here, so I'm going to mention it.
Which is crazy.
What is your, like, what's your routine? Tell me about, like, sorry, this is like totally not business related, but this is interesting for me.
Yeah. No, this is a great question because people are always shocked when I say this. So there's some myths out there of like, you have to drink, a certain amount of water every day. You have to get your haircut every 6 weeks. Like, you have to wash, all the makeup off of your face before you go to bed every night. I don't do any of those things.
You don't?
I cut my hair once or twice a year. I don't take my makeup off before I go to bed.
Every day?
Every day. I mean, I'm 47 years old. I've never taken my makeup. I mean, okay, let me correct myself. So for 46 years, I never took my makeup off before I went to bed. Recently, what I've started doing, just because of some of the skincare things that I'm using, I will take a makeup wipe and I will wipe the makeup off my face, but I don't actually wash my face before I go to bed.
I wipe my face too.
I just wipe it. However, one of the things that I do that I think makes a huge difference is I do get a medical grade facial once a month, and I've done that for 6 years. Not like go to the spa and relax and like it's painful, it's not enjoyable, but I get a medical grade facial once a month, and I've done that for 5 years. I'll do like microneedling. There's lasers, there's different
so you always do something different.
Yeah, I let my esthetician decide based on what I'm doing, where I might be like, I'm going to be in the sun a lot and we're not doing microneedling. Or I'll be like, I'm going to be on stage speaking next week. I need to look like I need to look youthful and glowing and vibrant. And so she does something different each time based on, or she'll come in and say, your skin is really dry right now and it's sun damage from you being at the beach. This is what I'm doing.
Okay.
So I don't have an extensive skincare routine in terms of like washing and treatments and this and that, but I do get a medical grade facial once a month.
Okay. And you look great. Do you eat very healthy and work out?
Yeah. So again, for up until 2 years ago, I just, we all have different genetics. And so I was the kind of person that could just eat whatever I wanted and I wouldn't really put on weight. But then as I got older and older, that started to change. And people would look at me and because I'm petite and they would be like, oh, you look great. But I felt like crap and I knew I had put on weight. And so about 2 years ago, I started, I do intermittent fasting every day. So I fast for 14 hours every day. I'm dairy-free and gluten-free. And I track my macros every day. I eat my body weight in protein every day, and I work out every day. But up until 2 years ago, I did not do that. But I just decided like, I want to be strong for as long as possible. Like I still feel full of life. I feel like this is my like second chapter of life, and I want to be strong and I want to feel good. And when I eat certain foods, I feel like crap. And so I just, it's like, I became that person that I was always annoyed by, like, oh, you're gluten-free, you're dairy-free. It's so annoying. Like I couldn't stand people like that. And I'm like, great, now I'm one of those. But I just decided a couple years ago, like I want to take really good care of myself. I want to feel strong and vibrant for as long as I possibly can. And so I just started changing the way I eat and just working out I only work out for 30 minutes in my bedroom in my pajamas every morning.
It's very efficient.
Yeah. And so I just get it done, and I don't drink as much water as I should, and I don't, wash my face as much as I should. But yeah.
Still so inspiring. Like say macros and getting your way of protein, that's so hard for me.
Yeah. And a lot of women, what happens is women think that it's hard, but once you figure it out, it's actually not hard. But I think a big mistake that a lot of women, it's so popular right now of women in like perimenopause and menopause, like eat more protein. Like that's the message that's being thrown out there.
Yeah.
But what most women don't realize is that the proteins they're eating are very high in fat. And so they're overeating in how much, even if it's healthy fat, they're overeating in how much fat they're eating each day. And that's why they're struggling to lose weight. And so it's not just any protein, it's really lean proteins that are really good.
So what is
for
your
you.
go-to protein?
Chicken, turkey. Those are, I eat a lot of chicken and turkey. I do eat eggs every day. And I love red meat. So I'll eat, a steak or a burger, but I'm not eating it every single day. Yeah. And if I'm eating that, then I'm watching my other healthy fat content. So like if you eat, avocados and almonds and salmon and a steak, that's a lot of fat. Okay. Even though it's healthy fat, it's a lot of fat. It's also a lot of protein. So I try to balance that, my fat level with my protein.
Do you eat the egg yolk also, or just the egg
So
whites?
I do 2 whole eggs and 1 egg whites, and I mix them together in the morning because you do need that healthy fat.
Right.
But in order to get the protein, it would be too much fat. So I mix egg whites with whole eggs, and I do that in the morning.
So you do fasting, you eat breakfast. Sounds like you eat in the morning. So when is your last meal?
I eat dinner at around 5 or 6 p.m. because I want to be able to have my coffee and my breakfast pretty early in the morning. Yeah. And so because I'm fasting for 14 hours, I try to eat dinner around 5 or 6, and then that way I can eat breakfast and have my coffee at like 7 o'clock.
That is so disciplined. Like that's impressive.
It took time to get there. It took time to get there. But once you get used to it, it just is normal. And so it's not hard anymore. It was really hard in the beginning because I loved bread. I was like, I'll never give up bread. I'll never give up sweets. Like I will never be that person. And so it was very hard to do, but once I got used to it, like it's literally no big deal now.
You gotta cheat sometimes, though.
Oh yeah, I definitely cheat sometimes for sure. Yeah, and if I'm going out to eat, like I have a friend that says memories over macros. So like if I'm on vacation, I'm not going to obsess over my macros. Right. I'm there, I'm enjoying myself. But if I'm disciplined 90% of the time and the other 10%, yes, I'm enjoying a dessert. Yes, I'm eating gluten. I'm going to regret it later because I'm going to have a stomachache.
Right.
But like, and I'm on vacation and stuff. So I'm not obsessive crazy about it, and if I go somewhere and I go out to eat, I'm not going to be like, well, I can't eat that and I can't eat that. And I don't, you know what I'm saying? But it's more about long-term consistency. Yeah. Is what I'm trying to achieve versus like being on this super strict thing and denying myself. So as long as I stick to it like 90% of the time.
Makes you feel great.
Yeah. I feel good. And I also don't feel deprived.
Yeah, that's a very good point. We travel a lot. It always takes me out.
Traveling is what.
Yeah, it's hard when you travel. I get it. I mean, there was a period in my life where I was traveling every single month, going somewhere, and you're staying at a hotel or you're eating at restaurants and stuff. And so what I'll do is I'll be like, okay, again, I might be at a restaurant. I'll be like, well, I'm going to do a steak and I'm going to do a vegetable, and I'm either going to allow myself to have a glass of wine or dessert, but I'm not going to do both. And so I just kind of pick and choose. And
that's one thing I don't do is the alcohol because it doesn't make me feel good. I love the flavor of alcohol, and I always tell Tim, like, if I ever try to order alcohol, treat me like an alcoholic. Tell me not to order because I just I love all those mixed sugary drinks, and I feel like garbage forever after. I just I don't know, like I hate it. Like I hate the
If
feeling.
women could cut the alcohol out, they would lose weight probably naturally just from doing that, because they don't realize how much sugar is
Yeah.
in
A lot
it,
of
and it turns
carbs.
to carbs. And you drink 2-3 glasses of wine or 2-3 mixed drinks or whatever, and you've literally probably had your entire day's worth of
Sugars.
carbs. And then you also ate all day long. And so it's like, I know it's nice and you enjoy it and whatever, but like that's a big reason why a lot of women aren't achieving the goals that they are.
Yeah,
Because
and bloating too,
Yep.
the stomach.
Yep.
Okay. Your favorite way to recharge?
My favorite way to recharge. I am an extrovert. And so there's nothing that makes me more happy than like grabbing a couple of friends and going to a nice restaurant that's like an outdoor area. And we just get to sit back and relax and just chit chat and just enjoy each other. And there's no plan or agenda. We're just relaxing like that. That is very recharging for me because I'm an extrovert.
That's cool. Have you been to South Hall?
I have not been there yet.
What?
I know.
Oh my gosh.
So many times I'm
when
like,
you
I'm going to
described
go.
outside eating, they have a beautiful table outside and
Yeah.
it's like so nice.
I haven't been there yet.
It's like my favorite. Your mindset hack when you're stuck.
My mindset hack when I'm stuck is I ask myself, is that true? What is the truth? Because most of the times when we get stuck in a negative thought spiral, and it just is a loop and it just plays over and over in our head and we get stuck there. And that's like what really deteriorates our mindset. And then that makes us feel a certain way. And then that affects our actions and our behaviors. And so when I am in a place where I'm just struggling, I ask myself, what is the truth? And so if I'm telling myself, oh, this is never going to happen, or this isn't going to get better, or this, like whatever negative space I'm in, I just keep asking myself. And I might have to ask myself 12 times that day.
Yeah.
Is that true, Adrienne? What is
Yeah.
the truth? And if we find ourselves saying always, never, forever, like anytime we're using words like that, it's never true. And I just said it's never true. But
That's good.
And so that is my, I would say my most immediate is I ask myself a lot, like, is that true? Is that true? Like if someone did something to me and I'm like, oh, that person this or that, or even if I'm making it mean something about myself, I'll be like, but is that really true?
Yeah.
And so that's like kind of just a quick answer, quick little hack.
What advice would you give to your 20-year-old self?
Would you do anything different?
Okay, so I have two answers to that. Two answers to what I want to say that I would go back to my 20-year-old self and say, it's okay to be you. Like, it's okay to be you.
Embrace it.
Embrace who you are.
The last guest said.
You were
Same exact
you were
answer.
made this way on purpose, for a purpose.
Yeah.
It's okay to be you. But the second answer, I want to say that I would not tell them anything, because I believe that who I am today is because of everything that I've been through. And I wouldn't be where I was today if at any point someone would have interjected and said something different or done anything different. And I think that where I'm at now, although I've been through a lot of very painful, hard things in life, it has made me who I am. And it is part of my story, and it is part of my journey, and it's part of my purpose in this world. And so I'd be like, I wouldn't tell her anything.
Okay.
Figure it out. You'll figure it out.
You'll figure it out.
Awesome.
The little stuff you wish you didn't care about. Okay, you're such a strong person.
The little stuff that I wish I didn't care about. This is going to sound bad coming out, but let me explain it. I wish I didn't care so much about how my children feel. And what I mean by that is, as a mother, I have allowed my children's moods to dictate my mood. So if my son was sad, I was sad. If my daughter was anxious, I was anxious.
It makes you a good mother.
If my son was
No.
going through a hard, no.
It overtakes. Oh, I actually can so relate, because it overpowers. Like when Ethan's upset with me, it ruins my day. I want to cry too.
Right. My whole day's ruined
Yeah.
because of that. And so what I've learned is that I can care deeply and love about my child. I can care deeply about my child. I can have compassion and empathy for what they're going through. I can care about it and I can love them. But my job is to walk alongside them. It's not to carry them.
And not to feel their emotions all the
And
time.
not to feel, because I can't be the best version of me if I am allowing their depression or their anxiety to take over me, because now that's stunting actually my ability to be who they need me to be.
Yeah.
And so that is a work in progress for me, especially as you have young adults and they start going through hard things in life. Because like when our kids are little, we think like, oh my gosh, babies are diapers and bottles and no sleep and all this is hard. And it is when you're going through it. But when you have adult children and they're dealing with adult things, it is so hard as a parent to not take that on. And so that is something I am still actively working on today as I have young adult children, is how do I love you well and support you well, but not allow your feelings and emotions to become mine and to derail me. Because there was a time when, you know, my son went through a depression. He had 2 hip surgeries. He lost his ability to run track at the University of Alabama, and it was very hard. And I went just as low and as dark as him. And that was such a lesson for me of like, I was not showing up as my best self to support him when I got sucked down into it as well. And so I would say that is one of the things that I'm working on the most, that I wish I could. I'm still learning.
It's a good reminder.
I'm still learning it.
It has to be a mom thing.
It definitely
yeah.
is a mom thing, because when Ethan's upset, like he's like going through his like peak of teenage years, and he's like kind of like my person, very outspoken. When he would share something, I would be like, oh, I can't believe he feels right. Let me fix it. And you'll be like, he can get over it. He's gonna be fine. And I'm like, no, let me fix it. Like I always try to fix his issue.
We want to make them feel better.
Yes.
But you know why we want to make them feel better? Because then we feel better.
Is that what it is?
It's true.
It is. When you get to the root of it. When you get to the root of it.
Yeah.
We want them to feel better because then we will feel better.
We feel like better moms.
We feel better. We feel happier. We feel like a better mom. We feel like whatever. And so I have been working so hard to detach my feelings from their feelings, my value from their life experience, and be like, I am here right next to you, and I'm going to support you, and I'm going to love you, and I'm going to cheer you on, but I cannot take on your emotion and your pain as my own. And
That's
that's
such
really
a good
hard.
advice.
It's really hard.
That's like you gave me a good advice in this like statement, because I totally could see myself in that situation, and our boys are still younger. Like I'm very invested right now in this, like fixing everything. And
or my daughter would be like struggling with something that happened at school, and she'd be really anxious or upset about it. And so that I'd be anxious and upset about it. And then next thing you know, like 2 days later, like they're fine. They're over it. She's like, oh yeah, we worked that out. And I'm like, great. I'm glad I stressed about that for 2 days. Like,
That's true.
there's a situation in one of our kids' lives that I even asked, just like, should I talk to mom? Should I fix it? And they're like, no, stay out of it. I'm like, but I could fix it. No, I shouldn't. None of my business. Okay, one more question. That was the wrap-up question. What is the best advice you received?
oh gosh.
There's so many.
Let me think about this for a minute.
You just gave me a good advice.
Have you ever had a success coach yourself?
A success what?
Coach yourself,
Oh yeah.
or a mentor?
Oh yeah.
Were
I mean,
there anything that they said they're like, oh, I've never thought of it this
You know
way?
what? Actually, that's. I'm glad you brought it up that way. So help me remember. So I had when I was going through my divorce, I wanted to make sure that I could show up and be the best mom that I could possibly be through that for my kids, to help them through that. And so I hired a parenting coach.
Oh, wow.
And she was a pediatrician also, which really helped, because she knew what is normal behavior for kids and normal stages in development. And there were 2 things that she said to me that have stuck with me. One, she said, when we don't trust our children, we try to control them and call it help.
Oh.
And I think that is true even in marriage, even in other relationships, that if we don't trust that person, not meaning like they're not trustable, but like we don't trust them to make the right decisions, or trust them to make the right choices, or trust that they'll know what to do, or trust that whatever. When we don't trust them, we try to control the outcome, but we call it help. And I was like, hot diggity dog. That is exactly what I'm doing. I'm like, I'm just helping him. He needs my help. No.
Right.
I'm trying to control the outcome, but I'm calling it help.
Yeah.
And so that really stood out to me. And then the other thing she said was, our job as our parents isn't to help our kids reach their fullest potential. It's to help them become more of who they actually are.
Man, I love that one. Wow.
Yeah.
That is
And
beautiful.
so those have always really stuck with me as a parent because we're like, well, I want to make sure they get good grades. And so then they're going to get to college and then they're going to do this and they're going to do that. And so we're thinking about all these things of like their potential and their future. And she's like, no, that's not your job to worry about that. Like your job is just to help nurture and water and help them develop who they actually are.
Our youngest has the best vocals. He can hit any note without trying. I'm like, dude, you need to be a singer. He's like, I don't want to sing. I'm like he picked up piano so fast. Trumpet or trombone actually. He was in trombone so quickly, like ahead of so many people. Like that it's your natural calling. He's like, no, I don't like it.
Yeah, we see all this potential in them and we're like, oh, I can help you do this. I can help you do that. Like every one of my kids, as soon as they became interested in something, I was like, do you want me to get you a private coach? Do you want me to help you do this? Do you want me to help you do that? And they were like, no, I don't. Like, and so we see all this potential because we have so much more life experience, right? And we know what is possible out there.
Yeah.
But like our job really as their parent is just to help nurture who they already are and help them become who they already are.
Like such a bad parent.
That's when you say, don't disappoint your mom and dad. And you play in their emotions. But
We make it about us, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
And they're
you
not
do.
responsible for disappointing us. They're not responsible.
We
for
disappoint
that.
our parents plenty of times.
Yeah. They're not
So-
responsible. That's not their job. It's not their responsibility.
Yeah.
We're responsible for ourselves.
You know what I caught myself doing? It's so funny because my mom would always say, don't drive fast, drive carefully. So our oldest has a driver's license right now. And I was like, drive carefully. And I was like, oh, Steph, I hate it when my mom said that to me.
it's like, what, are we not going to drive careful?
Yeah. And then I
Yeah.
was like, you know what, Jacob, I take that back. I'm sorry. I'm like, I just want you to be safe, but I shouldn't be safe. Like, it's like annoying. Like,
Yeah, it is. Our parents did it to us, and we did it. The greatest thing I did is I did this recently. I was on a road trip with my kids. We were all driving to go get matching tattoos.
Oh, fun.
My daughter wanted to get matching tattoos, and so we were all driving there to get it. And I said, "Hey, I want to give you guys permission right now. Like, you're not going to get in trouble. I'm not going to get mad. I'm not going to say anything back." But what is like the most annoying thing that I do to you that you wish I wouldn't do? That you were like, I just really wish you would stop doing that. I'm like, you can say anything. There's no repercussions. I'm not going to hold it against you. I'm not going to get mad at you. But like,
Did you still get a tattoo?
yeah. And both of my kids actually said, I can't stand that you always tell me to do stuff more than once.
Oh.
And I'm like, because I'll
Remind
be like, hey, tomorrow this is happening, and then at night I'll be like, don't forget tomorrow this is happening, and then in the morning I'll be like, hey, today this is happening, and then like right before it's
But
happening.
it's not going to get done if you don't say that.
And that's what I tell them. I'm like, well, if I don't tell you this many times, you're not going to do it. Right. And they were like, maybe, maybe not, but then just let us deal with the consequence of not doing it. Like, don't tell me over. And so like your kids, it might be something different, but like just the fact that I asked them that question. Like my parents never did that for me.
Yeah.
And so, I asked them to tell me that, and then you get that chance. But even my mom does it now to me, and she'll be like, oh, drive safe. And I'm like, I'm 47 freaking years old. I made it this far. Like,
I'm okay.
I don't need you to tell me to drive safe. Like it is, it's
Yeah,
annoying.
it's really
and so
annoying.
I've tried to really stop doing that to my kids.
It's really, but I literally physically caught myself and I was like, oh, I hate when I'm starting to, no, stop the madness. What is
It's not like he's going to get in his car and like, well, my mom didn't tell me to drive safe today, so it's a free for all. I'm going crazy,
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yes. Well, thanks for coming. I want to give you a shout out of like, where could people find you? I think there's so many life lessons that I personally learned today. I don't know if Tim, did you learn anything?
Oh, I learned a lot. I'm going to be editing some of the footages, and I'm sure I'll be writing more down. So it's amazing.
But I would love for other women specifically to connect with you. Where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, AdrienneRichardson.com is my website, and I'm I'm a little bit active on Facebook, but I'm more active on Instagram, so you can find me on Instagram too. I post a lot of stuff there, and
Are you doing TikToks?
I am not on TikTok right now. I was with my agency, but I'm not right now.
I see.
I'm mainly right now, I'm just Instagram until I kind of get in a flow. This is all new content I'm creating that I'm not used to doing because of the way it's changed. And so I'm just embracing one platform right now before
I feel like, the pajama workout situation that you do in the morning, I feel like if you did like small lessons on TikTok, it would blow up for you.
Yeah.
not
That's true.
polished, not in your beautiful
You are
pink
telling
jacket.
a marketer how to market.
No, I think that's a great idea.
Oh, sorry.
No, I don't know it all. No, I think that's a great idea.
I would just listen.
Yeah.
If somebody shows up in a pajama and tells
I
me,
posted a picture of me on Instagram on my
actually
story
saw
the other
it.
day. I was in my pajama bottoms and a sports bra, and I was so terrified to post that picture because like I had my hair in a bun, I had no makeup on, and I'm the kind of person that I always like to look polished. I believe like you got to look good to play good, and so I'm always polished. And I was terrified to post that picture of me in my pajamas with my sports bra. And so it's so funny that you're like, if you did that on TikTok, it would blow up.
I actually think because polish is great, and like I think it attracts a certain type of person, but person that's struggling, and sometimes we feel like we're falling apart, where our hair is like disgusting, and
no, we
that's
wanna
when you
find people
need
like
somebody to
us.
support you, huh?
We want to find people like us.
Yeah, relate.
Yeah.
And
Not
so
someone I don't.
I'm gonna wait for you on TikTok in your
Okay.
pajamas.
All right. That'll be the next place I go.
So I'm excited. Thanks for coming. We
Yes.
really enjoyed this, and we'll have you again. And sorry for giving you marketing advice.
No, I love it. I love it. Thank you.
And I know this was geared for women, but man, I'm walking out with some notes. So thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Good.
For being
Thank
you.
you for having me. I loved it.
Of course. Bye.
Let's go.
I was gonna say something else. I also used to do marketing. I feel like we have so much in common. I used to do the marketing for attorneys. And
Oh,
did,
wow.
like, their ads,
Yeah.
and they're such a hard ass.
I was going to say, that sounds boring.
Oh, so actually, there's a lot of
Was it
interesting
fun?
stories because it depends who you get. Like divorce attorneys are very interesting. Criminal
yeah.
defense attorneys are depressed by age of 80. They're just like literally like hate their life.
Yeah.
I don't know, 70. They're still working late in their life.
When they're working late. Yeah.
They're working a lot.
Mentally, like,
Not well.
not well.
Yeah.
No, criminal defense attorneys are not well. But like think
Yeah.
about if
Well,
you know your
the kind of
defendant
stuff you
crime.
deal with. Yeah.
Yeah.